Vegas, eh? So, hey Las Vegas, Sandman here. One take Sandman, remember, no fancy edits, no special effects with me. But today I'm coming to you from Muskoka, Ontario, Canada. And I thought you might enjoy seeing what it's like where I'm from. And I thought today's video we could discuss similarities and differences between Vegas and Muskoka, where I'm from here in Canada. You could say compare and contrast, like your teachers used to make you do in school, between Canada and USA. But, I mean, in a positive sense, right? I mean, why be negative? There are so many positives about both places. So why don't we focus on that and go for a walk today? This is my dog, Duck. Say hello, Duck. And I'm not supposed to show my house, apparently. Although, maybe that's not my house. Anyway, thanks for joining me, everybody. So let's go for a walk. Might be a bit bouncy, because I tend to walk fast, especially after drinking coffee. I don't know if anybody else is like that. Do you start getting, I guess a lot of people do, jumpy, antsy? I seem to increase in speed like 500 times over. So, but anyway, let's go. I'm planning to invest in a proper selfie stick. This actually isn't a selfie stick. And my camera is not very good at letting me switch front to back views. But I thought I'd show this video for our first comparison because this is the same video I made in the wintertime. If you remember, or if you've seen my videos, this was all covered in snow. And I was debating back then about moving to Las Vegas for the wintertime to get away from the snow for various reasons. And in Canada, we call the person who does that a snowbird, meaning like the birds that fly south every winter. Many Canadian seniors do that too. Although, I like to remind everybody, I'm not really a senior, but I'm getting close, I suppose. So, this is Muskoka, Ontario, Canada, 45 degrees north of the equator, halfway between the equator and the North Pole. That's kind of a claim to fame of a place here, a local attraction called Santa's Village. So, another comparison. Muskoka, where I am now, obviously, and I'll stop saying that, is a tourist destination here in Canada. So we could really identify with what things are like in Las Vegas. You know, Las Vegas depends on tourism. It's a major industry. You know, I'm always afraid to say it's the #1 industry there. A lot of locals tend to correct me and say that's not true, that Las Vegas can stand on its own now. As a city, it doesn't totally depend on tourism. But it's a major component for sure. Same with us here, except in my area, it consists of 3 small towns, Huntsville, Bracebridge, and Gravenhurst. And we don't have the large population like the 2 million people in Las Vegas, and we don't have any industries here. I mean, we've got a few. Oh, here comes somebody, just a second. We're back. Anyway, this is a cottage road. I always try to go to the side when our vehicle comes so my dog is safe and sound. She's pretty good, even though she looks hyper. She will sit and relax. But I was talking about how my area, Muskoka, here is a tourist area as well. So we have no industry. We depend totally on tourists to come up here. We're about 3 hours north of Toronto. So what is the main attraction here? You know, in Vegas, you've got the Strip and beautiful Red Rock and so many other places. Here we have 1,500 freshwater lakes. And I mean freshwater. I mean, if you put your clear, you know, glass to pick up the water, to hold the water, it is clear. The water is very clear here. You know, personally, I wouldn't drink it. You could get away with it. It wouldn't kill you. But it's nice. Very clear. So the water is clear. It's potable, as they say. So we have 1,500 freshwater lakes. Probably, I think they say it's the most, you know, lake-dense area in the world. So a lot of people like to build summer homes on it. It's funny, I go to Vegas in the winter for a winter home, and other people come here for a summer home, including many, many Americans for various reasons. You know, one, historically, a lot of Americans have come up here. And two, the Canadian dollar is so low right now that why not? It's a good deal to come up here. If you're going to use an American dollar, you can get 35 cents added to your dollar. So your buck is worth $1.35 here. So anyway, by the way, thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'm getting more viewers all the time, and I'm learning more, and some great tips and advice from people. I have to show you this though. The leaves are starting to change color already in August. That's the only tree around here that's changed. Looks nice, but it's too early. It means the summer's over. So Las Vegas and Muskoka are similar. We're both tourist areas. We both rely on it heavily. So that's one of the comparisons. Or to contrast, as my friend said, so Sandman, you're going from one of the wettest areas of the world with 1,500 lakes, trees, and beautiful granite outcroppings. And by the way, some of those summer homes here, we call them cottages, are worth 28 million bucks. In one real estate listing 2 summers ago, I saw one for sale, and it was $28 million for a cottage that a place is used for like maybe 2 weeks of the year. So we have a lot of very wealthy industrial people living here. We have athletes, professional athletes, movie stars, directors, and because they're the ones who can afford it here. How can I afford it here? Am I one of those people? No, I'm actually a retired teacher. So I'm hearing what's going on in Vegas right now with the teachers, and my heart goes out to them. Our situation is a lot different here. Teachers in Ontario, Canada are very well paid, very well supplied. And it sounds like it's very different in Las Vegas. So I hope they can get a little bit of a pay increase and supplies and give everybody a quality education they deserve, right? But I digress. I'm not a politician, and I told myself my YouTube channel would have nothing to do with being political. And I try even to keep my opinions to myself. Wow, I'm breathing like a rabbit. Here's my trail. See how it's marked? You see the ATV tracks. You can see some orange marker tape. So, I'm kind of involved in the tourist industry here. I am part of a company called Pitched. Pitched is like the Airbnb of camping. If you need a campsite, you go to pitched.ca, and on it are various people's properties all over the place that you can literally just rent space from them to pitch a tent. I happen to be lucky. I've got a large property here and a lot of places that you could camp. So we're going to go up there right now and check out a very popular campsite. If you see the camera move suddenly, it's because I'm getting attacked by a mosquito. Which, by the way, right now are not too bad. So again, you can see the trail. We're in the middle of the forest here. One YouTuber advised me, quit moving the camera so darn fast. That's just a combination of being naturally hyper and caffeine from my coffee. I only drink 1 coffee in the morning. It's enough to do me in, though. I drink tea. Tea doesn't do it to me. And if you ever talk about coffee and tea with anybody, you ever notice, you'll say, oh, caffeine and coffee gets me going. And the first thing they say is, oh no, tea has more caffeine. Well, I'm a living, walking science experiment then, because I can drink tea and it doesn't do this to me. Yep. Gives me a little bit of a lift, but it does not make me hyper the way coffee does. But I enjoy taste of coffee in the morning. And funny enough, coffee doesn't bother my gut in the morning, whereas tea does. Like if I don't eat anything, which I think is interesting, because you would think coffee would be, you know, harsher, but not for me. Anyway, so back to what we're talking about. Comparison between Canada and the United States. You know, both countries have their their perks and their downsides. But you know what I think is really cool, and as corny as this sounds, I just think it's great that two countries are such good friends that we can be different, yet be friends, and we offer options to each other. If I want to go down and experience the fun and excitement of Las Vegas, you know, and a different approach to things that the United States offers with their government, that's awesome. Now, I'm not getting political. I'm being positive here. Same with Canada. I can come back home and have, you know, the things that make home home, that make me comfortable, that I like. And I'll be honest, I like a lot of things in both countries and dislike a lot too. But what I like the most is that I can enjoy the best of both. Wow, I can't believe I'm breathing like this. I used to run marathons until I had an anterior cruciate ligament blow up on me one day while playing ball hockey. How appropriate. Anyway, I'll just be quiet so you can enjoy something here. So this is my campground. This is my backyard. And like I said, I just joined a company recently called Pitched, the Airbnb of campsites. And people will go online, select my campsite. And just like Airbnb, it's all done online, so is the payment. And I actually live right down there next to the lake where we started out in this video. Pretty cool, eh? So what you're seeing here is an example of the attraction of Muskoka. There are 1,500 freshwater lakes that people want to come and see and stay by. And of course, imagine all the recreational things that are on it, right? You know, all the boating, swimming. Don't make me go on and on, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, even I have stand-up paddle boards and kayaks, and I'm working on getting a Sea-Doo. I really like those as well. This isn't the entire lake. This lake goes down and to the right, if you can imagine, and further down to the left. Also to the left here is a waterfall. But this lake is the 7th biggest lake in Muskoka. It's called 3 Mile Lake, Ontario. And it's actually 5 kilometers long, or 3 miles. But that's not why it's called that. It's called 3 Mile Lake because it's 3 miles from another destination called Windermere, Ontario. And that is where people, especially Americans, like 100 years ago, would come. And they would say, hey, you know, I want to go to this smaller lake where it's really good fishing. Oh, where's that lake? It's about 3 miles from here. So it became known as 3 Mile Lake. Cool, eh? That's where Stephen and I get along, because we're full of interesting facts. But this is a similarity to Vegas, as strange as that sounds. Vegas is all dry and no lakes, but they've got the beautiful desert and the mountains and the valley, right? And as you can see, we also have a lot of rock. Ours is granite. And I believe that the rocks in Las Vegas are formed by volcanic activity. Ours are part of something called the Canadian Shield, which my understanding is about 4 or 5 billion years old. So I'm just sitting at my picnic table now. There's my little cabin. And I used to stay in there, but one year some mice moved in. And I don't know if you know much about mice, but mice are probably the dirtiest creatures on the planet. They pooed and peed in one corner of my cabin so badly, it was impossible to clean. I mean, my cabin wasn't finished off on the inside. It was just a plywood floor, particle board floor, but it was such a mess. And I just thought, I can't stay in here ever again. So now it's just storage slash, I leave it up because it looks cool and I don't know what else to do with it. And, but all part of the experience. If you hear trucks in the distance, that's unusual. It's very quiet here normally. But again, we're about 3 hours north of the city of Toronto, Ontario. They're refinishing the road down there. So that's why they're making all that noise. So a lot of comparisons. You know, people stop and ask for directions. And I know I've done that in Vegas, although some people are probably having a heart attack right now, thinking, why would you do that? But I have in Vegas. People are friendly. You can tell people like bartenders and people who work in the service industry, they realize where their bread and butter's from. You know, they realize that their income is derived from being kind and respectful to people who are visiting the area because they're spending their dollars here. And that's what provides work for everybody. So anyway, I just finished my first winter in Las Vegas and really, really enjoyed it. Let's continue our hike on my trails. Some people say I have the luckiest dog in the world. Hey, Duck. Duck. Kelly, say hi. Oh, she's excited. She can smell something. Because she spends her summers in Muskoka, Ontario, Canada, and her winters in Las Vegas. Got to admit, that is a pretty good life. So anyway, let's continue the hike, as I said. Talking about comparisons, contrasts. And again, not being negative, but it's just a fact. You know, when you travel, and I'm sure Americans do this too, you buy travel insurance, don't you, for your health and other things. And so, being a retired teacher, we have a special insurance plan that we can buy, like discounted. So I had that, right? So one day I was folding laundry at my condo in Las Vegas, and I jammed my finger. It was the strangest thing. Again, I'm in such a rush, right, that I smashed my finger against my other hand. I'd love to have a more exciting story, but anyway, so if you can picture it, this finger here, kind of hard to see. It looks like I'm giving you the finger, but I'm not. See how it's not really bent? It had bent like that. And I was like a little kid waiting for the pain to hit, you know. I thought, is the pain going to hit? No pain, no pain. And I was still dangling like that at the end knuckle. And I thought, okay, so maybe it's just dislocated. I've heard of dislocating joints and things, so I tried to relocate it. And again, I was waiting for pain, but there was no pain. So I thought, no pain, maybe it'll fix itself, you know. I'm in Vegas, I don't have time for a sore finger, or a funny finger, not even sore. A week later, I'm doing dishes, and I felt something really weird. I'm like, oh my God, my finger is still dangling like that. So I went to a local hospital, went to the emergency, because I don't know where else you go. I don't have a doctor there, right? And I waited about the same amount of time I wait here for, you know, taxpayer medical care, because I thought, well, it's going to be interesting to experience the American medical system I've heard so much about. And I knew I'd have to pay, but my insurance would cover it. So I finally got in, the doctor looked at it, x-rayed it, and said, you've broken the tendon, I guess it is, or is it ligament? I think it's tendon. You've broken the tendon in your finger. So he was really honest. He's like, he even said, like, I'll be honest with you, this is not a fun injury. He goes, the surgery is frankly brutal, painful. He goes, what I'll do is recommend you go see a specialist when you get back to Canada in a couple of months. For now, I'm going to give you this splint and put that on, wear it for 8 weeks. I'm like, what, 8 weeks? How do you wear a splint on your finger for 8 weeks? I'm kind of OCD sometimes, and I wash my hands constantly. But it was plastic, and you could use like a plastic tape to hold it on. So I did that. Anyway, long story short, one x-ray, $24, which I thought was really reasonable. And then my insurance company wrote to me almost as if to brag and say, hey, look how much we paid for you. And the total bill to sit there for an hour, get an x-ray, have the guy go, ooh, that looks nasty. Here's a splint, see you later. And by the way, it's healed. It was $3,900 US. Holy jumping, hey? $4,000 US. I mean, That's like 5,200 Canadians. So, well, closer to 5,000. But anyway, 4,200. More like, no wait, 3,000. So what do we say? 3,000. Yeah, so it's more, about 5,200 US dollars. So I was so thankful I had health insurance to pay that for a minor injury, though. So anyway, you know, again, I'm not being critical. That's just the way it is, right? And respect to that. That's how your system works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, that's up to, you know, my friends there to work on, my American friends. But just another interesting comparison, contrast. Here, I go to the hospital, I have an X-ray, CT scan, MRIs on my back, which is related to my knee problem, and I haven't paid a cent. Now, again, though, I have paid a cent, haven't I? When I go to buy beer or gas, 2, 3, 4 times more expensive than it is in the States, and I have to pay for parking, and anyway, we pay a lot of taxes. So, you know, I guess it's all depends on what you prefer, right? I mean, do you want to pay taxes and have that kind of coverage? Or would you rather not pay taxes and not have that coverage, but buy it yourself? Because some people are very healthy. They don't need that kind of coverage. So, you know, to be honest with you, I do agree with America and how you do things. But I also agree with, if you ever want to change it, good for you, you know? Sounds like I'm getting political, doesn't it? But I'm totally on the fence, and I am. You know what I mean? It's like visiting somebody else's house, telling them what to do. Like, who does that, right? You can make observations, you can discuss it, but who am I to tell you guys what to do? And vice versa, right? If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then, you know, make changes or live with it. But anyway, so that was just another comparison, contrast. Here's a funny story, too. I like to drink what you guys call seltzer. In Canada, we call it club soda. So I tried to go to Smith's grocery store to buy, that's not a plug for them, by the way, that's just a grocery store that I go to. Club soda, couldn't find it anywhere. I'd ask people, they'd look at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. Finally, one of the workers there, good-looking guy, he said, oh, that's called seltzer water here. And I'd seen seltzer on the shelf, but I thought, I don't know what that is, and I don't want it, right? Turns out it's the same thing. But your seltzer water actually is healthier than our club soda. They add a couple of other ingredients, I forget what it is, to our club soda. I really don't like that. I'd rather have just the seltzer that you guys have. Little things, but they add up, don't they? Your gas is much cheaper than mine. For me to get gas here, I'm paying $1.26 a liter. So there's about 4 liters to a gallon. So you're close to $5 a gallon here, I guess. And you guys, I believe, are in the $3.50 range, I think, when I left. Or is it $4? But you still pay less for gas than we do, which is nice, right? And I think the other thing I noticed too, I mean, we have a lot of stores and shops in our cities here too. It could be because I'm from the country, but you guys have so much retail. It's amazing. There are so many stores everywhere, but I love it. I mean, to me, I like it for the convenience, selection, but I also admire it because I think that's what it's about, right? You know, people need jobs. People need to make a living, and they can because of the fact that there's so many places that are, you know, that are open. Think of all the jobs that those stores create. Anyway, we're at a crossroads here of my trails. Got a trail going up there. I don't know if you can see it. We just came from this direction. I might be going too fast though. I don't want that guy to give me a heck again. Can you see duck? Anyway, another trail that way. We're going to go this way. I made these trails by hand, by the way. I'm not much of a mechanical guy, so I didn't even use a chainsaw. I just used what I call thunder and lightning. Oh, there goes my dog chasing something. And I get worried when she does that because we do have bears here. We do have moose, deer, fox, wolves, you name it. We've got it. And years ago, I made these really cool signs. St. Vincent's an island in the Caribbean, a lot of people don't know about. 3,800 kilometers. Copenhagen, Denmark, 6,258 kilometers. Paris, 6,000. And Taco Bell. Because I'm a Taco Bell fan. And the nearest one from here is now like about 86 kilometers, which is what, about 50 miles. So sadly, you guys, in Las Vegas, they're everywhere. I say sadly for me, because I have no self-control, right? And there's one like a kilometer from my house. I love it. And plus, you guys have nacho fries down there. We don't have that here. There's another comparison. Great segue, eh? There's a lot of differences in food. A lot of similarities. A lot of differences, too, though. Like, fast food for one. You know, we have products you can get here that you can't get down there. Like, I don't think you can buy poutine at your McDonald's or places down there, can you? And yet we can't get like nacho fries up here like you get in Taco Bell. Although I think they're a time-limited thing, but it's just kind of fun seeing that. Plus, your fast food is a lot cheaper than here, a lot less expensive than here. And that's good, and that's bad too for somebody like me. And but again, going back to the Strip and Muskoka as tourist destinations, we are so similar. You know, when you go to the Strip and you buy a Corona beer and it's $10, it's the same thing here. You go to a resort that's on a lake, you know, nice ambiance, but then again, so is the Strip, right? I mean, that's the whole point. And it's $10 for a friggin' beer. It's like, you're kidding. When I went to Vegas one time, I kind of joked with the waitress. She says, oh, that's $10. I'm like, $10 US for an American beer? I'm like, oh my gosh. Back home in Canada, that's like $13 a beer. I said, we Canadians come to the United States for cheaper beer. And she just laughed. And then my buddies and I walked 1 block west of the Strip. We went to a bar, and that same Corona, I'm not kidding you, was $1. $1 for a Corona. No way, you'd never get that here. So, you know, interesting comparisons. You can see in my world how moving to Vegas for the winter is interesting because it's similar, but yet it's different. I'm moving from a tourist area to a tourist area, right? I understand the industry well. I've worked in it for many years too. But yet I'm moving from a very wet, heavily vegetation covered area to a very dry area with no vegetation. Poor duck one time. You know how dogs, when they get sick, they eat grass, you know? So one time we're going for a walk, and I can see her doing her thing. She's looking for grass. Well, around my condo development, it's all, understandably, it's all, what do you guys call it? Desert landscaping. It's all stones, right? So she starts to try to eat like one of the decorative plants, and I'm thinking, God, I don't know if that's safe. I mean, I've always been worried even about her eating grass. Like, is she eating the proper grass here, or is that a weed or something, you know? Not weed, but a weed. So, yeah, so the poor thing couldn't really eat any grass to make her sick. And again, another great segue, talking about grass. So, marijuana is legal in my country of Canada from coast to coast, right? As of last year. And on October 17th, all marijuana edibles are going to become legal as well. Although I've never heard of anybody getting arrested for eating marijuana edibles, but I'm sure it's happened. And we know it's legal in Nevada and many other states, but federally it's not legal. So here's my story. A friend, it's always a friend, isn't it, has a really bad knee. And so to make his knee feel better, he takes CBD oil. Hemp derived, so there is no buzz, there's no high. It's not really a drug. I don't see how it's a drug, right? It's a natural product. So he takes CBD oil to make his knee feel better. In fact, his knee feels so much better after having taken it while he was in Nevada that his pain is gone now. He's totally pain-free in a knee that was so bad that when he walked his dog up his stairs to his condo, he had to stop halfway up like an old man, which he's not. And are you looking at my fat? I'm working on it. And anyway, it was that bad that he was in major pain. Took the CBD oil, it's gone. Okay. So in the news, last Friday, Canadian woman arrested trying to get into the United States because she had CBD oil with her, because it's legal here, and it's legal in the state she was headed to. They never did say where. I'm going to guess Nevada, but it doesn't matter. There's other states, isn't there? That's where we walked up, by the way. So, arrested at the border by border officials because it's illegal federally in the United States. And it's really sad because it was CBD hemp oil. There was no buzz in it. She was I think she even had like some kind of medical note. But, you know, as we know, and again, we have to respect this, is that it's illegal federally in the United States of America. So she was not permitted to bring that in. So she got arrested, she got fined. Immigration lawyer spoke and said, you know, it's unfortunate, but she can never go back to the United States now. And I remember thinking, oh my God, you know, it seems so serious. Eh? I mean, this lady wasn't even like a, you know, a druggy person, right? So my buddy, who has the bad knee and lives in Nevada, he had in the past taken CBD oil over the border. I can't say his name. You know, a good journalist never reveals their source. So he tells me. So there's no proof of this, right? Nobody can hold me to it. But he said he has taken CBD oil over the border. Didn't realize this. And the same thing could have happened to him. He owns property in Nevada. And if he had been arrested, charged, not allowed to come back, then, yeah, what do? You own property. You're never going to see it again, right? You're going to have to sell it. So I thought that was a good lesson to learn for everybody or anybody else who might have a sore knee and take CBD oil. Can't ship it over the border. So I think that's really interesting. You know, and again, you could lead to a debate about what's right or wrong, but it doesn't matter, does it? It's illegal federally. And unless or until, you know, United States decides to make it legal across the country, that's just the way it is. And Canadians have to respect that. So personally, I do. My buddy didn't, but he said he does now. He doesn't take it with him anymore. That's my trail that we just went up. I'm going to call it the beer can trail or the no sign trail. It did say private. Just that one of my neighbors very kindly decided to trespass there and drop beer cans everywhere. And you know, I like beer cans too. I like beer, I should say. But I don't drop them everywhere, and I certainly don't go to somebody else's property and drop it. It's so disrespectful. Again, another great segue for the United States and Nevada. I really think it's cool how you can drink in public, you know, if you want to. I mean, I know it's unfortunate if people are smoking weed and drinking in front of kids and stuff. I get it, but I just think it's a basic freedom. Why can't you drink a beverage, you know? And if you're responsible about it, great. You can't do that here. If I walk with a beer can out onto that street up there, because this is a private road, I own this road. Although, as far as I understand, I think the police could probably get me here too. But anyway, you can't drink in public here. And of course, in Nevada and Las Vegas, you can. And always thought that was cool. And I know for a lot of us, we would get our beer for the first time and go, wow, we can drink it, you know, legally out here. In metal containers and plastic containers only, right? We know that. You can't have glass on the strip. Anyway, so we would do it. We'd end up hiding the beer like in the back of our hands. Like, you know, when you're a kid and you're sneaking a beer, you don't want your parents or anybody to see. So you kind of cup it in your wrist, you know, like this. You take your beer and you hold it, you know, like that so they can't see.